Summer is almost over, the nights are starting to get cooler, and now is the time to think about seeding. And I haven't seeded my lawn in 3 years. It was done by a professional in 2016. So now it's my turn, and I'm gonna see if I can make this thing look better for next year. And that's coming up. Welcome to HandyDadTV. I'm Chris Hyder, your virtual dad in the cloud. Get away. Get away! Today my lawn looks pretty awful. See what I mean? Awful. The backyard is worse than the front. My lawn was seeded in 2016 by a professional. After it had died off, I had them come in and they aerated it, and they used a slit seeder to put down turf type tall fescue. But I have no idea how good the seed was that they were using. It did okay for a few years, but it's beginning to look its age. Now, I don't know if lawns really do have a lifespan on them like some trees do, but it's looking haggard, and it really does need to be renewed and refreshed, and hopefully seeding will take care of that. The biggest question is, which kind of grass should I plant? I'm in a cool season area. I'm in New Jersey, so where you live determines a lot of what your choice should be for the best kind of lawn. Fescue does a great job in most of the country, so that's what I'm going to continue to go with. I'm not going to kill off my lawn, I'm just going to overseed it. So I just want to bring in some new cultivars that hopefully have better disease resistance and just can give it some new looking oomph. Is that a word? Oomph? Alright, oomph. One thing I never knew is that fescue does not spread on its own. And what happens is, when you've got a situation like this, where this was probably a big crabgrass plant last year, and so I probably killed it off with Roundup, and it never spread. These plants get nice and thick when you fertilize them, but they don't spread the way that some other plants do. And you can see the same thing over here. I used to edge this with Roundup, and of course the grass never spread back to it once it died. I always thought grass spreads, all kinds of grass. But that's not the case. All grasses don't spread, especially fescue. Now, in some cases, that's a good thing because they only grow where you plant them. They're not going to spread into your gardens and take over areas like some other grasses might. But on the downside, you've got to reseed to get it to go thicker and new plants to be there. They won't grow new plants on their own. So the next question is, what brand of seed should you put down? Now, I know I'm going to do fescue, but there's a lot of different fescues out there. And when I look around at my local Home Depot, I saw a lot of different ones that, they're somewhat confusing. So when you look at seed, one of the most important things to look at are things that say weed seed percentage, as well as percentage of other crop seeds. Now, to get a good quality seed, going over the counter is not always the best thing. You tend not to find things that are going to be the best quality, the lowest weed content, and the lowest other crop content. And other crop is important because that's where you can get Poa trivialis and Poa annua from. So it's important when picking your seed to make sure you have 0% in other crop as well as weed seeds. Now, I was really fortunate to get a special delivery from my friend Pete Denny at GCI Turf Academy. So he provided me his premium turf blend. This is turf type tall fescue. In fact, he uses 3 different cultivars in here. It is listed to be dark green color, improved disease resistance, and it works well in sun and shade. Pete tests every one of his varieties in his own home. So if you haven't checked out his channel, he's another YouTuber, and he has his own lawn care business. So I trust his opinion. He knows what he's talking about. If you've never seen his channel, I'll link it in the video description below. Check it out. There's 3 different kinds of fescues in this blend. And the other thing that's important is this is exactly when it was tested, so that's July. It is now September 1st. This is fresh seed. It has not been sitting on the shelf for a year or 2 years. You'll see 0% other crop, and you'll see 0% weed seed. That's what you want to see when you buy seed. Now, as with many other things, preparation is very important. Now, to prepare my lawn for the seeding, I enhanced it with lime. I put down an application of lime a couple weeks back, and I also put down aerate on my front lawn. I hadn't treated my front lawn previously. So that is going to help me loosen some of the soil and make the nutrients go deeper, so it promotes deeper root growth. Now, I'm not doing a renovation on my lawn, in the whole lawn. It's not that bad. In fact, it's actually pretty good grass. But in this area right here next to my driveway, I did kill that off with Roundup a few weeks back, because it was just a hodgepodge of weeds and there really was no good turf there. So I wanted to kill that off, let it dry out really good, resprayed anything that might have been germinating since then, and I'm just going to prepare it as best I can. I'm not going to dig all this grass out. I'm just going to seed on top of it. Now, this area here contains a lot of dead grass. Now, a lot of it could be a little bit of disease, but it's also probably from the dogs. It's just, this is their domain. So I do want to scratch that up. I'm going to prepare those areas so that the seed gets better contact with the soil, but I'm not going to dethatch the entire lawn. That, my friends, is a pain in the neck, especially for a lawn my size. Mine is 14,000 square foot. I have rented a dethatcher in the past, and it generates so much garbage, so much dead grass, that it filled my compost pit because I can't throw it away. They will not take it at my recycling center. So my compost pit was like overflowing that year, and I swore I would never do that again. But I am going to use a hand rake and just remove some of these dead spots so that I get better coverage. This is the rake I'm using. This is known as a thatch rake, and it works pretty easy to pull up dead grass. You just roll it through the grass. You're not actually dragging it on the ground. And it's easy to pull through dead grass. It's harder to pull through live grass. So that's how I'm just going through the dead grass. The next step, I put the bagger on the mower and I mowed up all the grass that I removed with the thatch rake, and also cut it nice and low so that I could aerate next. All right, it's the next morning, and now I am going to actually apply the seed and the fertilizer, but the first step before doing that is to aerate the lawn. Now, a lot of guys believe in core aeration as being the best, which I agree, but what you usually need to do is rent a core aerator, and supposedly they're really a lot of work to do. I like a little bit of a simpler approach. Now, I've always had a tractor that had a hitch on it, and thankfully my zero turn has one as well, and this is what I've had for the past 20 years, and it's a spike aerator, not a core aerator. So it's definitely not as good as core aeration, but it is good enough, and it's what I have. You can weigh it down with anything. You could use a couple cinder blocks. I just use random blocks that I have taken from my retaining wall. Now you can see with the wheels lifted, the spikes go down into the ground, maybe about an inch, and it just pokes holes. And those holes allow for oxygen to get down into the soil, the fertilizer to leach down in the soil, and also to increase the ground contact for my seed. Alright, the aeration is done, and I am fighting a storm, so use half in the front, half in the back. Definitely want to use the edge guard here, so I'm not wasting it. I got the front done, and here comes the rain. What to do? Cover the spreader and do the back? Nah, it's only supposed to rain for a couple of hours, then there should be a break, and then it's going to rain again after, so I guess I wait. Yeah, I think I made the right choice. I'll wait for this to stop.
2 hours later.
Alright, the sun came out and I was able to finish the seeding in both the front and the back. I actually had extra, so I came back in the front and put some more down. And I'm now using my favorite little tool. It's called a garden weasel, and it's great for roughing up the dirt that I couldn't get with the aerator. Because we get so much runoff from the driveway here, it's good to have this seed embedded in the soil as much as possible. All right, the next thing to think about is starter fertilizer. Now, starter fertilizer is really any kind of fertilizer that has a big number in the middle. So this is NPK. So the P is phosphate or phosphorus. That has to be a high number, and that promotes good root growth. This happens to be a brand new fertilizer called X-Start, which I got online. I'll put a link to it in the video description. But it's a 50-pound bag. I'm going to spread the whole thing across my lawn and hope for the best. But it's a combination of, it's primarily a synthetic fertilizer, but it does have components in it that are also organic. And it even has fulvic acid in it as well. Alright, the rain has begun. I got the front and back seeded and fertilized. Scratched all the spots that needed to be scratched. Hopefully it all takes very well. So now we just sit back and let Mother Nature do her thing. Let me know what you're doing this year. Are you seeding? Are you not seeding? Have you never seeded before? What do you think of the way that I did it? Let me know. Leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.